Okay, Neil.
Hello, Macclesfield and people beyond. Welcome to the Macclesfield Town Council Finance Committee today. Due to the coronavirus COVID restrictions and in line with the local authorities and police and crime panel's coronavirus regulations 2020, this meeting will be held remotely. Here we are, and broadcast on youtube.com and can be viewed on the Macclesfield Town Council youtube.com channel. So hello to everybody watching. I'm not going to say something like and subscribe. I'm going to hold back for that, but hopefully you'll enjoy watching the meeting. And just first to kick off, I want to thank everybody for their continued kindness and cooperation. We are a strong community in Macclesfield, and as we get closer to the date at which we can actually get out again and see each other, it's been really positive to see people working together. And in that spirit, we're hoping to run a good meeting. And so straight on to item agenda 1. Apologies for absence. Do we have any, please?
Councillor Bennett Wake has given her apologies.
Thank you very much. Is that everybody? Okay. And item 2, declarations of interest. No, thank you very much. Okay, so we have no public questions. So we'll go straight on to item 3, which is the minutes of the meeting of the Finance Committee on the 30th of November 2020. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I move these as a true and accurate record of our meeting.
Thank you very much. Okay, excellent. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Hutchison.
Happy to second.
And to vote on that, please. Okay, thank you very much. Item 4, matters arising from the minutes. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of matters arising from the minutes. The first one relates to agenda item from those minutes of 7.9, which was a grant request from Healthbox. At our last meeting, we wanted some more information, and it was agreed that we would seek that information, and then, if appropriate, the town clerk, yourself as chair of finance, and myself as vice chair of finance would give approval to the grant. Having spoken to the grant requester and got further information, it became apparent that the work they were seeking to do was already being covered by other organisations in Macclesfield, and so the grant was withdrawn. So we did our duty in terms of the investigations, and the grant therefore wasn't necessary because we were able to put people in contact with those who were already providing that service. The second matter arising I have is in respect of agenda item 11 of the meeting in November, when we set the budgets. I did propose at that meeting that we should give the surplus in the civic events budget at the end of the financial year to the Mayor's chosen charities. Fundraising has been so difficult this year, and also to give the surplus from the remembrance budget to the local branch of the Royal British Legion at minus £3,000 we'll use next year to hold a larger event, as it's our local Royal British Legion's 100th birthday. Just wanted to update that we haven't yet got to the financial year end. As soon as we do, we'll know the amounts that are surplus to be treated in the manner we've already agreed. And having discussed this with the town clerk, what we will do is whichever meeting comes up first, either services or finance, as soon as the year end figures are clarified, we will move those figures be allocated. So we'll implement that part of our budget discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's great. So thanks. And just to note from that excellent to see the cooperation of Healthbox and other organisations that do so much good continuing to work together. So that's great to see, and brilliant that we're actually able to continue to put some of the fundraising and budget into supporting such sort of worthy areas. If it's okay, I'm going to go on to item 5, grant applications, 5.1. So just for people at home, this is the section where we consider grant applications for different organisations, groups in the town. Item 5.1 is space for autism. Do I have any speakers? The Community and Events Manager, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So just to briefly introduce the grant for anyone watching at home. So Space for Autism are our first grant applicants. They've applied for funding towards a 12-month programme for social outings for the Space for Autism Galaxy group, which are the adults that they support with autistic spectrum condition. So the grant they've applied for is for £1,800 and the total cost of the project is £3,740. And the difference between those is bridged by grants from elsewhere.
Thank you. Councillor Harewood. If you could switch on your microphone, please, Councillor. I can. Councillor Harewood, I think we'll come back to you in just a moment when you've got.
I'm here. Can I do it now?
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I heartily support this this grant because in the past and currently I have seen people with autism, and it is a permanent condition, and a kind of permanent support is needed. I will listen to what other people have said, but I think it is a well worth set of people to support. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Councillor Harewood. And Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I'm also very happy to support this grant. I agree completely with Councillor Harewood about the importance of the Space for Autism on this programme, which will enable a series of outings to take place to support the individuals concerned. And if Councillor Harewood's prepared, I'm happy to move it, but as Councillor Harewood's spoken first, if she's happy to move this grant application, I'm happy to second it. Thank you.
Fabulous. So is that been seconded?
I'll be happy to move it, even look, see if anyone else wants to speak. But I'll be happy to move it because it's an ongoing and permanent condition for people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have any other speakers? No. So we're gonna vote then. So all in favour?
I'm trying to switch this off.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you very much. So we're getting through it nice and quick. We're going to go to item 5.2, crucial crew. And we're not talking about the town of Crewe. We're talking about the other Crewe. Councillor, Helena, please.
Thank you, Chair. So our second grant application is from Child Safety Media, who run an event called Crucial Crew, which is a multi-agency child safety event. So it's all the schools come together and they learn lots of tips on how to keep themselves safe. There's loads of agencies involved, including the police, fire, ambulance, and all the primary schools within our area are invited to take part in this. So their grant application is for £2,000, but the total cost of the project is £11,500. And the difference between those two is bridged by other funders, including the schools themselves and also Crime Beat. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Excuse me. I was very fortunate indeed to attend the event that last took place in September 2019. Yes, sorry, I lost track of what's going on before COVID. It's September 2019. This is a really, really impressive event put on by Child Safety Media. It's aimed at 10 and 11-year-olds as they transition into secondary school, and it covers a whole range of issues to keep them safe, both in the home and in school, and when they're out playing and out with their friends. This is an excellent organisation and something that I think is very important for our young people, particularly as we go back into being outside and outdoors again. It's actually a small grant compared to total expenditure. The difference being made up by, as the community events manager has also told us, as recently as told us by the schools themselves. The event is plans to be at the Macclesfield Football Club, but it's not. I'm not certain whether that will be available in April when the event is planned because of the refurbishments. But we do have a plan B to have the event at the rugby club in Macclesfield. So they've clearly thought through the different options, and they've also made it clear in their application, Chair, that this is a COVID-dependent event. It's planned for April. Obviously, we hope it can take place in April, but we're not entirely certain whether that will be possible. But they also have a plan B for that. And in that case, it would be a digital online event rather than an in-person event. But having witnessed the event that took place in September 2019, I was very, very impressed with the support provided to local children. And I'm very happy to move the grant of £2,000 to Child Safety Media.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcock.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'd just like to say that obviously all the councillors on the committee were invited to attend the Crucial Crew in 2019. Obviously, due to work commitments, I wasn't able to make it. However, from the feedback that I've heard from Councillor Wilson and a few other councillors, the event in 2019 was a very, very big success. I feel that it's something that we do need to carry on funding if the grant applications carry on through. The reason being is these 10 or 11 year old children, it gives them some sort of nous of how the world works. Obviously, they've seen the world through the eyes of the parents, what they've been allowed to see. But you know, there's dangers everywhere, whether it be from a canal or a lake or even a railway line. So these kind of things to try and assist the young people into thinking and opening their eyes to say, you know, it's not just your small bubble. There's a massive world out there. I think it does to be a great success and a great help for these young people.
Thank you. Councillor Harewood.
Yeah, I'm muted. I just wanted to know if there's a possibility that councillors will, or councillors or other people, anybody, will get an ongoing invitation to these events. Because, you know, an ongoing, that when you can't do one, you may be able to do another. Will that be able to be put into place, that ongoing invitations can be had? I will be grateful for one or as many as I can attend. Thank you.
I think the community and events manager can answer that. I know I need to update my Green Cross code and other things.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't be a problem. Depending on the COVID guidelines at the time, I'm sure it won't be a problem. I know everyone was fully welcomed last time, and it's good to see firsthand how it all works, because I think when it's one thing reading about it on paper, but when you actually go and you see it and you see the children engaging with it and what they're getting from it, it's really powerful. So yeah, I'm sure I can speak to the organisers and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd just like to echo what the councillors were saying as well, but it's very good to see children being invited to use critical thinking and to actually consider different aspects, including actually online safety was covered in that, which is obviously absolutely crucial at this time. So did we have a proposal? So just to go back, and do we have a seconder? Thank you. So we're going to take that to the vote then. All in favour, please. Okay, unanimous again. Thank you very much. So that is the grant applications part of the committee meeting. Item 6, grant updates, and the action that we take here is to note received grant updates from ongoing groups and recipients. So 6.1, the Macclesfield Male Voice Choir update. Do I have a speaker on that? Community and Events Manager, please.
Thank you, Chair. So just briefly to introduce it for anyone watching at home. So previously the committee had given a grant to Macclesfield Male Voice Choir for the procurement of some uniforms. This choir travel all across the world in normal non-COVID times to represent Macclesfield, so they felt that it was important that they looked the part, and the committee agreed and issued the grant. But sadly, due to COVID-19, the purchase of the uniform has been delayed, and they have been back in touch. They've kept us fully informed along the way. There was an initial delay from last year, and then they've informed us again there's going to be a delay until potentially May, which they let us know, and I spoke to both the chair and vice chair of the committee, who agreed that it was acceptable, the delay. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to note again for people watching that we ask that recipients try to, where possible, source things, equipment or anything being made locally, to make sure that it supports the local economy, and of course is environmentally conscious and is green. And I hope that the COVID restrictions haven't meant that changes, and we're able to see continued commitment to that. I think we can go to 6.2 for the Silk Life Food Bank update. Do I have a speaker on that? Thank you.
Thank you. So just briefly to introduce it for anyone watching at home. So Silk Life Food Bank were given a grant by the committee, I think it was at the last Finance Committee meeting, of £2,000. And from that grant, they have been in touch just to say a huge thank you to the committee for that. And also that they've purchased 14 lightweight tables, which they're able to store away easily, but also that they're using them for sorting all of the food out, which has provided them with a much more organised situation. So, and they've invited the committee to have a look at the tables and their setup when things are a bit more safe in terms of COVID.
Thank you. So 6.3, the Christmas tree collection. The town clerk, please.
This grant was for the Christmas trees that raise so much money towards the hospice, which unfortunately couldn't go ahead, but the committee agreed to the hospice could have the money anyway toward, because they're in such need of funding. So they were just updating and thanking the committee that despite not being able to technically fulfill what they needed to do, to thank for the donation anyway.
Okay, do we have any other speakers? And so we're just going to go to 6.4, please. Laura.
So this is an update from the Disability Information Bureau. You gave a grant just shy of £2,000 at the last committee to go towards a project called In the Know. And that project has started. It's all about digital exclusion and helping people get online for things like doctor's appointment prescriptions, shopping, those kind of things that people might be more inclined to use now because of COVID. So they have started that project, and there's a little booklet that goes with it, which is on the DIB website.
Thank you. And it'll be great to actually look at that and see what the results of the funding are there. And just lastly, to 6.5 in the Macclesfield Rugby Union Football Club. Does anyone want to speak on that? Shall I give the floor to Helen? Okay.
Thank you. So the committee issued Macclesfield Rugby Union Football Club with a grant of £2,000 previously. This was to fund the purchase of some CCTV security cameras, as they were experiencing quite a lot of antisocial behaviour. And they have actually issued a thank you to us, but also this is part of the press release that they've issued to thank the Town Council for that grant, but also to say that they have continued to experience, sadly, antisocial behaviour, but the cameras have done their job. So they alerted the police, and the police are now reviewing the footage. So hopefully it will help to deter further antisocial behaviour in the future.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other speakers on that? Councillor Harewood?
I'm a bit late with it, But I just wondered how you, if you're bad at IT, how you're going to get the booklet, you know? When you're going to get the booklet, you got to do all kinds of things. That's probably personal. When you're going to get the booklet on disability things, you got to know how to get the booklet. So I was wondering how that was how that decision was arrived at. I'm sorry, not being awkward, but how was that decision arrived that you could get a booklet when you can't get in?
Very good question, Councillor. And the town clerk?
Yeah, you can ring them up. They'll post a booklet out to you. The booklet's down at the GPs. It's just if, you know, while people are watching this online, a huge big stack of these booklets. So the kids, we've got some at the town hall as well, ready for when we can. But yeah, handing out things is an issue at the moment, but they will post them out to you. Yeah.
And of course, we as a town council have some fantastic collaborations and work with different groups, such as the CVS, to ensure that we standardise this and we make this as available as possible, and you know, open to the most amount of people. So, very good point from Councillor Harewood there. Are we okay to go over to the next item 7, the governance review? And the action is to approve the grants policy update and recommend this to the full council. If I can just defer to the clerk.
So the grants policy has been updated for a few reasons. One is to introduce micro grants, which we've talked about before, and these are grants of up to £100, and they can be given to an individual or a group that isn't necessarily constituted to apply for. So those grant forms will be shortly on our website. Probably after full council, we'll have a set of grant forms for different needs. And then we, as you've mentioned, Chair, we are working with CVS, Council for Voluntary Services. And what we're doing now is that grants that come to us, we're also working with CVS to see, because they have the land, they know all the voluntary groups and who does what. So they're helping us make good decisions on who gets grants. So the grant policy is just about data sharing with them as well, so that people understand if they apply to the council that we'll be sharing that with CVS. So very excited to update it. And we've also just included a few standards so that if you get a grant from us, we'll give you a copy of the logo. We'd like you to maybe hashtag Macclesfield communities, and, you know, just so that we can bring everything together to make sure as many people know about it.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think that the introduction of the micro grants of up to £100 for individuals or informal groups of residents is very, very welcome indeed. It's something we've done as part of the budget setting exercise for the forthcoming financial year. I think in these times of COVID, where people are needing to get small grants, it's a really, really good addition to our community grants facilities. And also the service level agreement that we've got now with the CVS to support people to make grants, to make sure they can make good supported grant applications and help people through the paperwork who may never have done anything like this before, is really, really, really beneficial and welcoming. So I support wholeheartedly the amendments that have been made. I do have a couple of other amendments to propose, Chair. On the contents page, on page 36 of our pack, the content 2, how much funding can be applied for, that should now actually say Macclesfield Town Council grants programmes to be consistent with the actual new policy. That's what the title used to be, but we now have the 3 separate grants, the micro grants of £100, small grants of £250, and then the large grants of £2,000. I also have, do you want me to do them all at once, the amendments I've got, Chair?
Would we be able to, do you feel that they would be best as one thing that we can move?
I think if I go through them all one by one, I feel reasonably confident that they can all be done in one batch. But of course, if they can't, we can separate them out.
Okay, if you want to do that.
Should I plough on, and then if we have an issue, we can tackle it then? Yeah. Okay. In the moment, the maximum grant that a community can apply for is £2,000, but we do get applications for larger grants. And we do deal with applications for larger grants. And in our policy, it talks about where education establishments apply for grants as a cap of £10,000, and where religious establishments and primary faith groups, there's a cap of £10,000 there. Also in our previous grant policy, the maximum, the £2,000 will be considered by the Finance Committee, but above that will go to full council. Well, that's changed now with our new governance arrangements that we adopted last March, when we adopted the National Association of Local Councils governance documents, which actually require greater scrutiny, but then give the committees greater power to make decisions. So my view is that this particular policy should, in due course, be amended to be the community grants and donations policy. But then when we come to deal with grants that are up to between £2,000 and £10,000, or requests for financial support between £2,000 and £10,000, and £10,000 and over, we should have a separate policy for that. So it's completely transparent that those grants are available and what people need to do to apply for them. So I'm proposing that we go away from this meeting and we ask the town clerk to come forward with a separate policy to deal with that gap between £2,000 and above. And then finally, there's a couple of items that were in the previous policy that are not in this new policy I want to reinstate, Chair. First point in new little point V under the section 5. So it's 5, all funding application terms and conditions, little point V. We mentioned our banners, A-boards and signage policy, and there's a link there to take you to that. But there, in the previous policy, there also used to be a reference that there can be no fly posting. And I think we need to reinstate a specific reference that there can be no fly posting, because quite frankly, it has been an issue in that there has been the erection of posters all over the place without the appropriate permissions, which isn't acceptable, because there are rules and regulations about fly posting, and we need to make sure we're very specific about that. I don't think it's ever done, with any maliciousness, but that posters in certain locations near roundabouts, near traffic lights, they can block the vision of motorists and cyclists, and so we need to be very careful about that. And then my final amendment, Chair, is that under agenda section 6 standard conditions, we used to have a standard condition that any equipment purchase will be branded with the Macclesfield Town Council supported by a sticker, which will be supplied by the Town Council where appropriate. I'd like that point to be reinstated, please, Chair, because I think it's very important that grants that are given are clearly acknowledged to the Town Council, so that residents know what we're doing, know what we're spending the precept payers' money on. It's about transparency and it's about openness, and it's also about making sure that the Town Council gets a recognition for the community grants it's providing, so that people know they're there and know what they're being spent on. So people are total transparency on this. So those are the amendments I'm seeking. If any of them are felt to be more controversial, I'm happy to move them piecemeal, but hopefully we can go ahead and do them. I can move all those in one block.
Would I suggest we could just quickly do it? It does sound like perhaps they should just be done separately, just very quickly, if the
of course, if that's what you prefer, Chair, I can happy to quickly brief on what they all are.
Yeah, are you okay to just clarify again? So if we just because of the.
Are there any questions on what I said, first of all, rather than sort of jump straight to the vote? Does anybody want to ask me any questions or raise any other points? No. Okay. So I mean, my first amendment, Chair, is really a consequential amendment of changing the paperwork. That a new section 2 is now headed Macclesfield Town Council funding programme. So on the contents page, we need to delete how much funding can be applied for and insert Macclesfield Town Council funding programme to be consistent with a bullet point that's actually in the new paperwork. That's the first. I move that.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Should we? So we're going to vote on that now. So everybody, anyone in favour of that, can you raise your hand now, please? So that's for the first one. Thank you. Unanimous. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. If you could go to the second point.
I'm going to stick first of all with the
Yeah.
amendments to the existing
Yeah.
policy, Chair. So my second amendment that I suggested was that in section 5, little item V,
Yeah.
V for Victor, at the end of that wording after signage policy, we reinsert the wording, there can be no fly posting. Full stop.
Okay. So we're going to vote on that. Anyone in favour of that, please raise your hands. Thank you. And Councillor Harewood as well. Thank you. That's unanimous again.
And then the next amendment I have is that under 6, standard conditions for grants will be. I want to reinsert it was the old little 2 point, so perhaps put it either new little 2 and renumber, or new little 3 and renumber. I don't really mind. But the wording I'm seeking, Chair, is that any equipment purchased will be branded with the Macclesfield Town Council quote supported by close quote sticker, which will be supplied by the Town Council where appropriate.
Okay, thank you very much. So if everyone's clear on that, if we take it to the vote, anyone in favour of that, could you raise your hand? Thank you. Councillor Harewood, if you want to switch on.
I wanted to know if we don't do that already, don't we?
We do.
Yeah,
We do it already, Councillor Harewood, and it's currently in our existing policy, but for some reason it's not in this new policy, and I'd like us to continue doing it, so I'm making an amendment.
All right, okay.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. If you'd like to just come back.
There is one more point, Chair, which I think is right to take separately. Our grants policy covers 3 grants. It covers the micro grants of £100, the small grants of £250, and large grants of a maximum of £2,000. But we do, as a town council, both at the finance committee and at full council, give grants for larger amounts than that on request.
Yeah.
And I believe we should have a separate policy for that. I think that this policy we're just discussing now should be known as the community grants and donations policy. But I think for now we'll leave it at this title because we need to develop the new policy. So I think that we develop a new policy about how people apply for grants between £2,000, well, over £2,000 share, because we have grant requests for all amounts, and depending on if it's £10,000 or under, those items go to either the finance committee or the services committee. If it's over £10,000, it goes to full council, and we need to document that so people understand A, how to apply, B, how it works, and C, what the responsibilities are in having those grants. So in doing that, Chair, I propose that we ask the town clerk to go away and develop a new policy. As a consequence of that, we need to delete under section 5, we've got little point R and little point S that refer to grants of over £10,000. So I think we need to delete those from this policy and insert them in the new policy. So that's what I'd like to move.
Okay, so so we're going to take that to a vote then. Anyone in favour? If you'd like to vote, okay. So I'll vote there. Thank you. That's unanimous again. Just to quickly check the town clerk, if that's been noted. Excellent.
Everything's
Thank you, Chair. I think it's really important our grants policy is transparent, is understood, it's accessible to members of communities and groups, and also the knowledge of the fact that larger grants are available, and that we make clear what those circumstances those larger grants are available are, so that organisations can apply if they need to. Absolutely.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And I think that I think you're especially the point about raising the awareness of the grant system. So when people see the insignia of the town and they see the good work being done, that they know that there's a system in place. But I just think our continued commitment towards towards just to supporting easy forms, quick ways to apply, not, you know, so that it's just open to everybody. And I think I'm really looking forward to our micro grant scheme, especially to see how we can do some good things. So any other further points on that item? We're going to go to item 8, the spend. Councillor Wilson.
We perhaps for good order ought to say that the amended document as amended is recommended by the Finance Committee to full council.
Yeah,
I think that's the, you know, good order.
So that's, so that will be recommended to the full council on the 29th of March. Okay, thank you. Item 8, the spend to date, and the action is there's 8.1 to approve the spend to date of £444,127 for recommendation to the full council on the 29th of March 2021. And Councillor Wilson.
So moved, Chair.
Yeah, okay. Second, any seconds from anyone? Councillor Wilcock, are you seconding that? And we're all going to note the following reports: the receipts and payments, bank reconciliation, and income and expenditure. So just defer to the clerk quickly.
Yes, it's just to the bank rec since the last meeting, and all the expenses paid out with checks, etc. for your information. And obviously there's an income versus actual report as well.
Thank you. Okay. So we're going to take that to the vote then to approve the spend. Yeah. Okay. So all in favour, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Unanimous again. Okay, we're going to go to item 9, the CCTV mobile cameras, and the action is to note the cost of the mobile cameras as agreed in the budget 2021. Town clerk.
In the budget 2021, there was approximately 8,000 put in for 2 extra mobile cameras that the town council wanted to purchase, and we have the figures now, and they could come in quite under budget. So it's just to note those costs, and then I'll go ahead and get them bought. So the actual cost is, let me just find it, it's 2,000. Sorry, it's just my agenda's on the screen. Does anybody have the cost to hand?
Yes, if I can help, Jerry, it's £2,430 for each camera. The total camera cost will be £4,860, which is significantly under budget. But there is an annual cost for data of £680 per year per camera. And we have 3 cameras, actually. This is 2 additional ones. So again, it's all under budget, which is very pleasing.
Absolutely. And of course, just to say, though they're mobile, they're sort of there's places for them, isn't there, where they're suitable.
Yes, even though they're mobile, there is a system in place of how you actually move them. So it's not just like the staff go and pick it up and move it. There has to be a whole, you know, it's not mobile gives the impression it might be quite quick. There is still a process of where you can move them and where you're allowed to move them to, etc., which is run for us by Cheshire East Council CCTV department.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay. Do we have any other further speakers on that? That's just for noting. So we're, if everybody's okay, we're going to move to item 10, to the internal audit, and to note the internal audit report, and to note any recommended and completed actions. Over to Laura again.
So we had an internal audit in January, and it was remote, which was obviously because we couldn't have people in the office, so we had to upload several pieces of paper and etc. But it went quite well. There was 3 minor points which have all been dealt with. One was an anomaly in an Excel spreadsheet, on the allotment spreadsheet, which we have corrected, and we hadn't actually charged the wrong price. So even though the spreadsheet anomaly was wrong, the price was still right because it had been put in manually rather than use the formula, if that makes sense. So we've fixed that. There was a few checks that had not been reconciled from earlier in the year, and that was largely down to some difficulties with posting checks. We've found that we've posted out checks and it's took quite a while for them to get there. So we haven't wanted to cancel the checks as quickly as possible, as usual, because once we've cancelled them and took them out of the system, we'd have to write it again. And what we found is checks are turning up 2 months later. So that has been rectified as well. And then there was just, I think, a small matter of an SLA didn't have a signature on, which has now been amended, and going forward, there will be all checked, ready for next audit. So it was quite straightforward. And we have another audit at year end, a sort of smaller one with the internal auditor as well, before we can actually put the accounts together for the external auditor.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other points from? Yeah. Councillor Wilson, thank you.
I just wanted to say, in terms of the challenges we've had with COVID and check writing and getting together to write checks and dealing with the sort of things that you normally do in person so straightforwardly, I wanted to congratulate Laura on the items being raised being actually so minor with the first internal audit she was dealing with as our town clerk. So well done, Laura.
Thank
Good
you.
clean bill of health there.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Harewood. Councillor Harewood, if you could switch on your microphone. Sorry.
Thank you. Going through the figures, I can't identify, did we take on the two young people of the
we haven't yet. So
all right.
we're still in the process, and actually it's interesting you should bring that up just so people understand. We've got the funding from the government. So, and it is how it works is once we've employed 2 young people who have to be on universal credit and have to be a certain age, once we've employed them, we get paid back when we've paid them. So we get paid retrospectively back for it. Now, with COVID and everything, I felt quite strongly that taking on somebody who's a bit younger and maybe their first job, we need to be back in the office to support them.
Okay.
This role we could necessarily just do remotely with.
Sure.
So the start date has been pushed back till May/June. However, because we've got the funding from the government, those positions are live on the Job Centre website. So everybody listening who may be applying, I have all the referrals, and once we are ready, you will all be emailed the application forms and the process will go. It's just the way the funding works. They have to put it up on the Job Centre website. So people are applying or showing interest, but we just don't want to start that process too soon.
Sure.
Have to put them
Sure. I just wondered
ahead.
because.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harewood. Just to be clear as well, that's the government kickstart scheme to employ young people under 26 years of age.
Yeah, they've got to be on universal credit and looking for work. And I would just say that I personally found the application process quite straightforward, and I would encourage any businesses that were looking to maybe support a young person fully paid of up to 25 hours. And if you can afford that, paying up front and you know, I think it was quite a straightforward process. And if anybody wanted help, I'd be happy to tell them how we did it.
Absolutely, thank you very much. And that's a key function of our town council, that we help people get access to some of these emergency funds and support for employment in the future. If we could go to item 11, the members' items, are there any? Nope. Okay, thank you. So sad to end so quickly, but we're at item 12, the date and time and place of the next meeting. So the date of the next meeting for people's diaries is 7 p.m. on the 26th of April 2021. Exciting live format to be confirmed. We're not subject to COVID-19 restrictions. We may still be on Zoom. I'd just like to thank everybody for attendance at the meeting, and looking forward to speaking again soon. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.